Honestly, it wasn't that I didn't think I could attain it. It didn't seem accessible. It wasn't, I didn't grow up around any lawyers. It wasn't on my radar in that way, to even think of, pursuing a career in the law at all. And so I think it's really important for high school students to consider this profession as early on as high school.
Well, my reasons were sort of inherited, if you will. I came to America when I was 8 years old from Ghana. And before we came over, my parents had to sit down with my brother and I, who were coming over. And they pretty much told me, we want you to be an attorney. We want you to be a lawyer. We want you to go to America and take advantage of everything that's there. And I kind of had a mouth, so I guess they figured being an attorney was the best route for me. And so that was my first exposure to the idea of becoming a lawyer. 8 years old, I really didn't know what it entailed, but I said yes.
Because I think in a lot of situations, if you ask questions up front or you're curious up front, then you get the results and answers you need a whole lot quicker. And then that may help you change the trajectory of where you're ultimately heading, whether it's into the legal field or whether you find out, well, hey, I want to be in some other field, right? But the more you can do that, I think, and the more you can do that at an early age, I think that will get you further down the road.
I think a lot of people is just the feeling that everybody else has it together and you're the only one that's not sure about what you're doing or what the next steps might look like, and that is absolutely not the case.
And here we are, some 20 something plus years later. But I will say that along the way, I really lost sight of that. I took up pre-law in undergrad at a PWI, and I quickly retreated. And I use the word retreated because it felt like a war zone in my pre-law courses. It was clear that I was not welcome. I was the only person of color, the only black person, in my courses, and my professors treated me that way. I felt the weight of that, to the extent where my white colleagues would come to me after class to apologize to me for things that were said during class. And so I actually decided to dip out, and I decided law was not for me anymore. And after graduating, it took me 5 years of working to realize, okay, I really want to go back and do this thing, and I can't let that stop me. So here we are 3 years later after starting law school, and it's finally happened.
I became interested in a legal career during my undergraduate when Trump actually became president, and I was taking Black politics at the University of San Diego, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to do something.
I'm doing things now that weren't fathomable to me when I was in high school. I was just trying to get out of high school. I just wanted a high school diploma, and here I am now, a 5-year Army veteran, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a Juris Doctorate degree. And if I can make that happen and father 3 kids, and now get to see those same children, 2 of them are going off to college now here in the next 2 weeks, one to A&T and one to University of Southern California. So it's like the full circle, coming full circle now.
I have to say I am a first generation college graduate, the first in my family to graduate from college, at least in America. First attorney in my family, so I absolutely didn't know what I was doing. Before starting law school, I had no idea what the term big law meant. I just knew I wanted to become an attorney and help to change lives. I didn't know the technicalities, the classes that you had to take. I didn't know legal jargon and terminology. I didn't know any of that.
Being a soldier, whether or a member of the military, you have to know those Army regulations or those Navy regulations, or DOD regulations, right? That's law. It's military law, but it's law. And so I didn't know I was interacting with the law then, studying those, Army regulations, whether it be for personal knowledge or advancement, or dealing with a legal issue while in service. It was kind of a preparation in a sense for law school.
I've come to learn how valuable networking is and how valuable your personal connections are. And then even if you're in high school or in college or in grad school, your professors, your fellow peers, they're just a wealth of knowledge and resources. So like literally leverage any person you can. Don't be scared to ask. The worst that happens is someone says no to you, and you won't be there even if you didn't ask. So I would say, put your hand up, work hard, and, try to, figure out what's out there. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own success.
Those who come from the most meager means, I think, have the most to bring to the legal profession. Coming from, meager means or poverty in my case, just really gives you a different perspective on the law in general.
So why not me? Why not us? So that's my short-term goal. Long-term goal is to build that table that I don't know what it looks like yet. But yes, those are my goals.
Things during your legal career may not pan out the way that you initially planned them out, but I think if you stay resilient and persistent, I think ultimately you can get to where you want to be, right? And I'll say, I always wanted to be in-house, right? And my initial job coming out of law school was, doing employment law for the state. Keeping that long-term goal in mind allowed me to, turn that particular job into something that was beneficial. And from there, I was able to transition into more of an IP-related job at a small tech company where they were doing a lot of data licensing, and then from there, general counsel for a small military company that involved components of employment law and some technology. And I learned some other things about navigating the government space, right? And then you move on to the next job. And so I'll say, use every experience as a building block. And just because you don't have what you want up front, you can ultimately frame it to get there. You can frame your opportunity to get there.
I participated in a few clinics, and one of them was the Immigration and Human Rights Clinic. And I fell in love with that, with helping those who are seeking asylum, with refugee law, and so I got to do a little bit of that pro bono as well at Reed Smith. So I for sure want to continue doing that. But as far as being malleable, when I say I'm open, my mind is just a sponge right now, just absorbing different things. And I think that's a beautiful place to be, because I once was rigid in that, okay, law is not for me, and even if it is, I have to do it in this particular way. So I find it freeing. It's so freeing to be in a place where I can do anything. I just want to try it first.
Stay informed. Obviously, student loan balance, it's a huge risk for the country. It's in the news almost every other day now, which 10 years ago when I was in grad school, that wasn't the case. But, keep abreast with, any news and developments, and, figuring out what might change and how it could, favorably impact you if it can. Education is a great differentiator. You work hard and you do well in school, it can open a lot of doors. So definitely, put your best foot forward there, but also take advantage of any program that is set up, to help marginalized students, stand out, whether it, be it like look for different scholarships to apply for, and, figure out if, there's some, money that you can get that, maybe other people didn't know about, or, it's just not as obvious because you have to do, an extra, 30 minutes of research that someone else may not have done.
There are hundreds of thousands of people who do this every year. They graduate from law school every year. They take the bar every year. They become licensed attorneys every year. What's so special about them that I don't have? And you'll find, if you really think about it, the answer is nothing. Even your background doesn't change it. I came from a very, very poor family. I didn't come from wealth. I came from West Africa. I came from Ghana. My parents didn't get the education that they wanted. My grandparents didn't either. I come from very humble beginnings. But here we are, doing it years and years later. Because at some point we chose that we would not believe the lie. So no matter if you are an immigrant, if you're coming from a different country, if you're a minority, no matter what it is, you can and you will if you really set your mind to it.
It doesn't matter where you come from. whether you come from parents that suffer from addictions or low income or immigrants, or if you feel like maybe no one went to college, no one graduated high school, if that's not what you want, don't look at your past circumstances. That just happens to be what you came from. That doesn't mean that's where you're going. You can achieve anything that you want to achieve. You just have to put your mind to it